You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is the Waystation, your Star Wars news and rumors show for, April 23rd, 2023. And joining me on this inaugural episode is none other than Jonesy, the man who makes his own news every week. Jonesy, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. This is really exciting. This is something I always like doing news, but we always have to scramble and we want to get to the show and the shows tend to run long. So this is really exciting to be able to have a dedicated show just to talk about news, just to talk about rumors, things we don't normally do.
Mm-hmm.
And really just to be able to ask questions and explore different things, no matter how big or small they might be.
Yeah.
And what was fun, this is the reason why I got back into listening to Star Wars podcasting in the first place, was to go find news, which is ironic because Cantina Cast never really did a whole lot of that. But, so it's kind of cool to be able to give that back to people who might just be looking for a podcast and want to hear what's going on, so that's pretty exciting for me to be able to kind of come full circle on that one.
Yeah. And even at 30 minutes is what we're going to try to keep the show at. That's almost double, right, than the time that we normally spend. I mean, sometimes we float into the 20-minute mark, but to your point, there are a lot of times when we don't get around to things that actually manifest into something substantial later on. And so we're almost kind of caught flat-footed in some regards. So this gives us an opportunity, like you said, to get into some of the things that are just considered rumors. Now, we're not going to get into spoilers. I want to make that very clear out of the gate here. This is nothing that's been spoiled. There are lots of rumors that go around, and it's really fun to talk about these as long as we all agree that we're not going to take ourselves too seriously. So at any moment, throughout the course of our episodes, if it is a rumor only, we'll try to make it very clear about what's rumor versus what's news. Again, no spoilers, because there are plenty of that stuff out there, but that's always been, I think, beyond the scope of what we try to do on the show. So those are kind of the ground rules. Other than that, I mean, this really widens the net in terms of what we're going to discuss. There are some things that we've already tabled for next week that are kind of exciting and fun rumors to talk about, but I don't know if there's really anything there. It's maybe smoke, maybe it's not, but that's part of the fun, like I said.
Exactly. And again, it's just more about bringing these to the forefront. And, some things are pretty cool and some things are right on your doorstep and you want to remind people what's coming out. And we have May the 4th just around the corner. So there's lots of exciting things going on. New content that's coming out too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, make sure everyone's aware of it. Make sure we kind of do our part, from that respect.
So before we get into all that, do you want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon members and supporters of the show?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you to all of our Patreon members, cantinacast.com/Patreon. All of the new tiers are updated on the site now. So if you'd like to go take a look at that, please do that. We might have a couple more tweaks coming just as we get things settled, but special thank you to our now part of the tribe members, Mike, Lauren, Dante, Risk, Justin, Jackson, Sharkman, Dan, Daz, Isabella, Uncle Leon, Josh, Jacob, and Steve. And then our Delusions of Grandeur tier, Rod and Kathy. Thank you all so much. We certainly appreciate all of your continued support. And again, if you're curious about that, cantinacast.com/Patreon, you're getting 2 pieces of exclusive content every week. Plus you get these shows early released. The ones that go to the public are also early released on there as well. So there's something for everybody out there. So we encourage you to go take a look at it. cantinacast.com/Patreon.
Yep. And as a reminder, this will be the first show tonight. So we will have a exclusive link that we've already shared on Patreon. That'll be for the second show that we'll take at the top of the hour here, 10 p.m. Central Time. And tonight's topic is Bo-Katan. So we're going to get into some of the stuff that we didn't really get a chance to cover with Bo-Katan in terms of how she came to be, her struggles as a, heiress to the Empire, if you will, that happened through the course of the Clone Wars and then certainly into Rebels. And then when we finally meet her again in The Mandalorian, we kind of want to talk about that journey. I have a really good question there about whether this was really fair to her. As I was going back and doing research and watching shows, it started to become apparent to me, I don't know that this was fair for everybody to throw this at her shoulders. She's never really once said, with the exception of what we see in The Mandalorian, this was everybody just forcing her into this role. And so I think some of that plays into it, but we're going to get into all of that Bo-Katan discussion. So if you're a fan of hers and you're a Patreon member, you guys can tune into that to the live show. If not, if you can't make that, depending on your tier, you can get the audio or you can get the video both if you want to see us without the masks, if you will. That'll be coming up as well. So I'm looking forward to that show. But I'm looking forward to this show too. Not to say I'm not looking forward to this one.
We've already hit the 5-minute mark. We got to get better at this.
Well, let's get into it. What do you got first? And some of this news is kind of like we accumulated this over the course of like 2 weeks. So some of it's a little bit older, I would say. Then going from here on out, it will be everything that happened within the week.
Yeah, we try to keep the relevance, though. I think some of it has evolved over time, too. So it's interesting to kind of see that perspective. But anyway, Return of the Jedi comes out this week, Albert. Re-released into theaters for the 40th anniversary. It's in the U.S. It's from April 28th through May 4th. Do you have your tickets? When are you going to go to see it? And are you excited?
I am. I've got my ticket. So I bought 2 tickets for Friday night. That is I want to say it's like an 8 p.m. showing. So that was for me and one of my sons who's a big Return of the Jedi fan. So we're going to go watch that. And then I bought a single ticket on Sunday night, like at 10 p.m. or maybe even later. I don't remember. It was after we recorded that I wanted to go to just kind of take it in all by myself. I felt like it was a 2 showtime minimum, right? I did that with Empire, did that with the number of, anytime there's something that comes back into the theaters, I want to catch it at least twice. 1, because I got more money than I did when it first came out. And 2, I don't want to forget about it, right? Because I don't know how much longer that movie, when it's going to come back around or how much longer I'm going to be on the earth. So what about you? Did you get tickets?
Yeah, I'm going to go see it on the morning of April 30th. I'm thinking about going again closer to May 4th, maybe May 3rd, May 2nd, something like that, just to see if the crowds there. For those interested, there are still plenty of tickets out there, especially for those early showings. Like the showings that I looked up at a couple of different theaters started as early as 10 a.m. and go all the way through like the late show, maybe 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, maybe even a midnight showing. Of course, midnight on the Wednesday, the 27th, going into the 28th, is there for everyone as well. So there's kind of a time slot for everyone, and those tickets seem to be available. They're at all the major theaters. And the really cool thing is that they are in some of the, like those extra tier theaters, the ones with all of the bells and whistles, the sound and the video, all the good stuff. So they're putting them in the big theaters too. It's not relegated to just the kind of the smaller ones they do when the movies get a little long in the tooth and they just want to keep them out there. So I'm really excited to see Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is like super special to me because it was the first Star Wars movie I saw. And so to be able to go see that in theater, I did not get a chance to see it when the special editions came out in theaters and THX and all of that good stuff. So this will be my first time seeing Return of the Jedi in the theater because I was too young to go see it in the theater, when it originally came out, and then missed the re-release. So this is really exciting for me because this is just an opportunity I've never had before. Yeah. Or at least not that I remember, but so it's just super exciting for me.
Yeah, I would say the key takeaway here for anybody is go get your tickets. Like Jonesy said, there are, here in Austin, there's quite a few tickets that are still available for some of the later showings. Most of the prime showings are pretty much filled unless you want nosebleed section type stuff. But yeah, definitely try to catch this thing before it goes. And I'm hoping they hand out the poster that we've seen, right? I don't know if we don't have an image of it, but I'm sure everybody's seen it by now. That 40th anniversary poster that's been released. It looks really beautiful. And sometimes they will hand those things out to some of the early releases. That was my hope. And that was the reason I bought an early ticket on the 28th in case they sold out of those things or gave too many away. But yeah, it looks like there's quite a few theaters that are already starting to fill up. So get your tickets as soon as you can.
Very exciting. And of course, something else that comes out this week, it's a week of releases, is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So this is the follow-up, of course, to Jedi Fallen Order, with Cal Kestis and the crew there. This comes out on the 28th. So again, right before May the 4th. So you can get you can get patch day and everything else to be able to get amped up, get into the game, celebrate May 4th with a marathon gaming session with, you and your friends, whatever. And so is this a game you're going to pick up? I know you like to buy the games, you play the games, but you don't always have a lot of time to play the games. So do you pick it up and you just kind of get to it eventually, or is this one you're going to prioritize?
So I will play this game. I think I've talked about it on this episode. So I binged and bought that $300 special edition version that came with the lightsaber replica.
Right.
And I have not seen anything as far as it, like, I was hoping by now we'd get something that says it's shipping, but maybe I got a few days. I don't want to get too panicky here, but I know they've already charged my credit card for it. So at some point I'll get that. But yes, now whether or not I open the lightsaber is a totally different, as you know, I got too much stuff back here that is like unopened and just sits there in boxes for a while. So this feels like something I would definitely go open though and display, proudly at some point. But yeah, it is on the way. I'm looking forward to playing on it. Honestly, how about you?
That reminds me, when I came out there, we were supposed to open some of your card packs, I think, or something. We never got around to that
Nope.
either. And we are nothing if not consistent.
Yeah, I
That's
was
for
looking
sure.
for them, but yeah, no, that's it's a bad habit I have.
Yeah, but no, this is actually, I'm not going to buy the game usually because I'm not very good at these games. I got to be honest with you. And I want to put them in God mode. I want to just be able to go through the story and be able to not die and not have to figure out the puzzles. I like to experience a little of the combat and things like that, but it's just not my bag. So I usually just go and watch the cinematics on YouTube, unfortunately. Sorry, developers. They put all the hard work into the game. They look fantastic. Everyone seems to love these things, but it's just usually not something I just don't get too far into it. I love the story element of it. I love some of the characters they've developed, and some of the voice acting and things like that is always amazing as well. So super excited to see where they take the story. I know Lauren had a lot of good things to say about the book, of course, in her review on Jedi Novel Archive. And a lot of people seem to be really excited about that book from as many views as that video got. So a lot of energy behind this game, and people just can't seem to get enough of it. I know some people might be looking out for May the 4th on some deals maybe for the game. I'm a little curious if it's going to go on sale that quickly. We were talking about this in Discord the other day of whether or not the game would go on to a really steep discount or really any kind of discount less than a week after it got onto the market. So
that does not happen typically.
Yeah, it usually doesn't. Yeah, but stranger things have happened, I suppose. And so if you don't have the time, here's the cool thing though, and this is the kind of where we went in the chat. If you don't have the time to play it in that first week or so anyway, what have you got to lose? To wait, wait a few days, see if it goes on sale. If you do, cool, score it at a discounted price, and then you can play it when you do have the time. Otherwise, if you're one of those release day brats like we are usually, then go out there and buy it, download it, get it playing, get it pre-downloaded and all that good stuff, and can get it playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be very surprised. I don't want to be a naysayer or be negative, but the video game industry is such that you see that first week is so critical, right? In terms of sales and number of downloads and number of purchases even that first month, honestly, that first fiscal month, that first 30 days, you're really hard pressed to get it. So it would be really awesome of them to do something like that, especially in honor of May 5th or May 4th. But yeah, don't hold your breath. Now, like you said, though,
you can take May 5th to May 6th if you want. We celebrate all the days around here.
I was to say, yeah. Now, June 4th may be a totally different story, right? So
right.
June the 4th be with you. So you could do that. And maybe there'll be a discount there. But by then, all of the storyline and videos will be out. So you guys can just watch all that stuff. You wouldn't even necessarily need to buy the game, which I think, at some point, I know she's doing that, but there may be a time we may need to pull Lauren in there and just kind of do a story kind of breakdown for the video games itself. Because I think there's enough there that we can really kind of get into.
Oh, I saw her add it to the calendar.
Oh, did she? Okay.
She's definitely interested in doing it. She put it on the calendar on her calendar. Lauren's really good because she actually takes the time
to plan stuff
to put a calendar together and actually plan it out.
Yeah.
So right. I saw it come through on the little notification I get when people add to the calendar. So it's in there. So if you're looking forward to the game and you want some commentary on the game and the story, it sounds like she's going to have you covered there.
Yes.
Oh gosh, we're not starting this again, are we? I turned mine off.
Okay, good.
All right, so that's kind of the gaming news. If we have time, we'll come back and do another kind of a gaming story. But something else we've got on the horizon, of course, as May the 4th approaches us, is something that's directly impacting you and me because we're going to cover the heck out of this thing. This is Star Wars Visions Volume 2,
yep,
which comes out, I believe all episodes are going to be released on May the 4th. And the early reviews have been absolutely bonkers, like so good. Like everybody seems to love it. They love the diversity of the different stories, the different visualizations of it. Just like everything seems to be hitting the right notes. And the first volume was so good that it was hard to believe that they could take it up a notch, especially with totally new stories. We were kind of hoping they'd continue some of the stories they had brought forward before, but now we're getting a much more global approach to this. And with the positive vibe, I haven't been more excited about this than I wasn't more this excited about it with Volume 1, much less now with Volume 2. So I'm super stoked for this one.
I am too. Like this is, like I said, when we first talked about this, it didn't even dawn on me that this was going to be a more than just Japanese artists, right? And that kind of global wider net that they've cast for all of these different animation studios across the world is pretty exciting because there are a lot of stories in here. Like that one was so rich in Japanese culture. And that was actually, great. We loved the hell out of the first one, right? I'm not saying anything negative about that. But this just opens that lens so much larger now And from what I've seen, and I know we didn't get the previews or the pre-releases and stuff, and I know some of our friends or that do shows, they've already seen all of them. And like you said, they've been talking about them without spoilers, so don't go after them, Disney. They're doing what they said they were going to do. But they've been just glowing about how awesome some of this stuff is and just how different it feels. But yet, I mean, it still feels like Star Wars, but it feels different than Volume 1 at the same time. So I don't know. I don't know that the hype could be any larger at this point for Star Wars Visions 2. But if you're not excited about that, you should give it a shot. And like, there's the diversity of the animation, the difference of the stories, the storytellers. It feels like you should just give it a shot and watch all of them, because I guarantee you're probably going to find most of them, at least one of them, but I think most of them will appeal to you in some way. There's some really interesting stories and angles on Star Wars that, really kind of make you think, which is always fun, right? That's the whole point of Star Wars, is being able to kind of talk and theorize and speculate on things. And this is really at the core of it. That's exactly what this is. So
Right. And so one thing that is consistent from the first volume is that the run times are pretty conservative. They're between 11 and 18 minutes.
Yep.
For all of these episodes. And that's pretty close to what they were before. They're kind of a range, mostly in this 15-minute. I'm with you. I think this is great. I love it when you can get short form storytelling. It makes you have a really short, tight, concise story. It really makes you get your point across quickly. You have to leverage your visualizations as well as the story and the dialogue. And of course, I think we've had some that didn't really have much dialogue either, but you have to have a really close, a really well thought out plan in order to make that work. And I love that we get these types of things, because this is like what we get like before who is it? Pixar, right?
Mm-hmm.
These shorts that go ahead of a short, a Pixar movie, they're 8 minutes or whatever, but they just seem to have so much heart. They have so much humor. What they're able to accomplish visually within that short period of time is just incredible. And to be able to get a whole slate of these things all at once and have this animation really be top notch. I mean, the animation that we're going to see here, much like Pixar, is really kind of cinematic quality, or what you would expect from a big studio.
It's state of the art. I mean, I hate to say it, but it really is,
exactly.
Right? I mean, there's some design, there's some techniques that are not being used anywhere else that are exclusive to some of these studios, which I think is really cool, because a lot of folks have never seen some of the mixed media and the blending of the media types like this in this way. So it's just a bonus that it's going to be Star Wars.
Yeah, and Jeff had a great comment in the chat. He enjoyed season 1, but he had a difficult time connecting with the anime style for whatever reason. So he's really excited about this one. So again, I think this is a great idea where you can bring in all sorts of different ways of doing this. I mean, I'm not much of a claymation, stop motion animation person, but I got to be honest, that's one of the shorts I'm most excited about, because the lighting and the way that they're doing it just seems epic, right? It just seems really cool. I just want to see what they do with it. It feels like Phil Tippett, right, all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And he's left such an impression on Star Wars with Empire Strikes Back in particular. To be able to have that come back into Star Wars just feels amazing. And I'm hoping someone like a Phil Tippett is able to see this and kind of enjoy that and know that he's inspired a whole generation of filmmakers that are coming back into Star Wars and doing exactly what he did 40 plus years ago.
Let me ask you something. So on Star Wars Vision, so I guess one of the things that I was most excited about with Volume 1, I was thinking, if this thing really catches fire and it gets the attention that I felt like it was going to get, and he got the news coverage that I thought I was going to get, and I thought it would kind of permeate some of the other cultures and fan bases in a way that Star Wars has never done before, that this would be kind of a signal for Disney to start branching out, Lucasfilm to expand on that, right? And what I'm really saying is, like, why don't they just give us a Japanese animation style story, make it canon, similar to what we got with was it Edge of Balance, the High Republic mangas that they released, right?
Yeah, the comic through Viz Media.
Yeah, and that was kind of like the first step. And I thought, and those were kind of releasing around the same time, if my memory serves me correctly. But I was thinking, okay, this might be the first step getting into this, and we haven't really seen anything manifest. You know what I mean? Like, there's not been we were thinking they would do a spin-off series of, what was it, The Ninth Jedi was one of the ones that was really kind of intriguing for us. Don't see anything there. I mean, we have the Ronin book, which I think we all agreed was incredible writing. I don't know that it landed as well as it probably could have or should have, or for whatever reason. They did the toy line figures, that sort of thing. So I'm not saying they didn't try, but we still don't have like that Japanese animation kind of Star Wars canon animation on Disney Plus. Do you think with Visions 2, do you think this increases those chances? Do you think they'll ever do it and just say, you know what, we're going to do a what is it? I forget the name of the studio that does like Wallace and Gromit art. I forget the name. Do you think
I
they'll
don't
actually
remember
go and say, okay, we're going to do something like that, and maybe it's for kids, given the style, right? That would probably make sense. But do you think this is going to be used as any kind of a platform for launching new stories with this type of animation behind it?
Well, launching new stories, yes, but dedicated series for launching new stories, I hate to say it, but probably not. I mean, and part of the issue is that it's this shotgun approach of all the different types of stories, all the different visual elements, all the different ways of storytelling. Unless one really super caught fire like Ronin did, it's difficult to say where you're going to really focus your attention and pick one over all of the other ones that you've now done, 20 plus or so, and pick one that you're going to go build a series off of and bring that into Lucasfilm Animation, right? Because that's the thing. It has to come into Lucasfilm Animation, which I think might be a bit of an issue. So, well, I say it has to, but it seems like that's the strategy with Disney. You control it in-house. You develop it in-house. This is outside of their normal comfort zone usually. So unclear, but I'm just going to go on a limb and just say no. We didn't really get any traction with Ronin. We thought we were supposed to get more traction with Ronin.
Yeah, The Duel is the name of the
the Duel, right?
episode,
Yeah, Ronin's the book. Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. But but again, just taking that approach and developing that more specifically. And you're right, Edge of Balance, I thought was going to take it, but it kind of went on its own little direction too.
Kind of isolated story, not really. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it was in a comic book, which is really difficult to bring that into the mainstream, and bouncing back and forth where the animation would have been the way to do it and to develop something more aligned with that. So
right.
Unfortunately, probably not. I think there's still hope for it, though, especially if something catches fire and it really grabs people. Then I think that's always on the table. And I think, again, showcasing a variety of talent, seeing what sticks, seeing what really resonates with people is part of the experiment with these things.
Yeah. Well, I'm hopeful. I really am. So time will tell.
That's right. All right. So our next piece is an interview with Collider with Dave Filoni. And so switching gears over to Ahsoka. And some of this isn't really surprising, but I thought we'd just talk about it and get kind of your take. So Filoni wrote all the episodes, right? And the interviewer was trying to get some ideas about, well, how many episodes are actually going to be? And Filoni said, well, yeah, sure. But that's a Filoni answer, right? It's a joke in his mind. No one's laughing, but Dave, and he loves it.
Yeah.
But he did give a little bit of a tidbit of saying that he directs more than one, not surprising. And also that the episodes, at least right now in the current stage of editing, are perhaps a touch longer than Mando.
Okay.
What we've had with the Mandalorian.
All right.
So, and then one last piece, and then I'll kind of get your thoughts about all this. So the interviewer also asked him, what do people need to do to get ready for Ahsoka? Do you need to rewatch Rebels? What would you really recommend someone to go rewatch if they needed to? And not surprisingly, he said you shouldn't have to watch anything to come into these stories, but if you wanted to, come into season 4 and just kind of get a flavor of the characters, really. So it was really nothing in particular. And this is where I was like, okay, World Between Worlds, yes, no, maybe.
Maybe.
Like it kind of seems like it's going to be important, at least, or what we saw in the trailer, but didn't leave any kind of indication there. But Filoni never really, if he leaves a breadcrumb trail, I mean, these are like too tiny for mice to pick up, right? They're really super tiny. But again, a little bit longer episodes with Mando. Does that feel like a pretty good thing right now?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't stress too much, I guess, these days about the time anymore like I used to. I think we're all starting to kind of normalize on the idea that these things are what they are, and we've challenged, and not challenged. That's probably, we don't challenge anybody because we don't have a say, but we've questioned why some of these episodes were cut the way they were, when they ended, when they did, that sort of thing. And I think that's probably going to be part of the normal discourse more than the time that it takes to do an episode.
He seemed to suggest that was the case. It was really more about the flow.
Yes.
That dictates the length of the episode, not like a hard and set number.
Which makes sense, right? Because on Disney,
right.
if you have a Disney Plus platform, a platform that's not beholden to advertisers, then you're not trying to schedule, 3 commercial breaks and, 4 2-minute spots to make money that, whatever, right? That revenue stream. Throw all that out the door, and suddenly it becomes about the story now, because you're just basing your whole profit, all your profit comes through subs. So it really allows the creators to kind of say, look, this is the story I want to tell. Here's where I feel like the natural break point is in the story. And if that turns out to be 30 minutes, cool. If it turns out to be 56 minutes, I think that's fine too. The only limitations that I see in terms of where we cap out at is basically budgetary things, right? They can't go do a 2-hour episode because it blows the whole budget out of the water unless that's just 3 episodes that they've kind of combined into 2, right? Or 1. So I think this all makes sense for me. I like the idea that Filoni is writing all the episodes. I don't know who else would have written any of the episodes, to be honest.
That was what he said. He's like, these were kind of my characters, so I was the only one. I was the only one who could really do this. So
right, I don't
makes
like,
sense.
More power to you. You feel like you can step in and like co-write with Filoni on these characters that he created in the universe that he created.
He'd probably give you a chance. He'd probably say, "Yeah, sure,
Yeah, sure,
take a shot," and you'd be like, "Really? No, thank you. I don't really want that."
But and then as far as like catching up and being familiar, watching season 4 of Rebels, I think the only thing there is I think he's right. You probably don't. They probably should never make a series where you have to, go watch, everything that came before it. Right? That just doesn't make for good television. I think if it's like a second season, third season, right,
yeah, a little different.
You're a little bit different, right? But that first season of anything, no, they should be writing it so that anybody can just jump in, pick it up, feel like this is something they want to latch onto, and then enjoy it from that point on. I think what he was signaling, I think we've already seen this from the trailers, is there's a lot that we've seen just in the trailer alone that if you watch season 4, you're like, oh, that's the Pearl Girl. Oh, that's Sabine. Oh, look, it's this exact shot that was at the end of season 4. Oh, there's the counselor ship that, so it comes in. I mean, you can pinpoint at a lot of these things. So it might be cool from that perspective. I think the only real deep kind of meaningful thing that you could probably get out of that is if they do go to the world between worlds. My guess is if they just introduce that into this series in season 1 here of Ahsoka, it's going to be like the world between worlds. What is that? Oh, it is a blah, blah, blah. They're going to give you a 10-second elevator pitch on what it is, when really there's 2 great episodes that are dedicated to what this thing does, which are going to be way more meaningful, way more in depth. And so if you go back and watch those, I think you're going to have a, deeper understanding, deeper appreciation for what you're seeing on screen rather than that 10-second elevator pitch. But
yeah, they should do like in comics. They just have a little pop up on the bottom of the screen with a little asterisk. See Star Wars Rebels season 4 episode blah blah blah.
Yep.
For more information. Did you miss it? Yeah, just something like that to key you in.
Yeah,
and that's like what Amazon X-Ray does. They could do that. I'm gonna sell Amazon an idea, but. Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is just something that, again, it makes no sense for anybody else to write Ahsoka except Filoni, that he's going to direct more than 1 episode. Again, not surprising. Length of the episodes, I think it doesn't matter. It's more about what's the flow of the story, what makes sense to get, what you need to get across in that moment, in that story, in order to feed the next one and feed the next and be able to bring it all together in really cohesive type of picture. So, again, just shows you the excitement, and because there's really not a whole lot out there, and this thing's really only a handful of months away. I mean, really, late August, we think?
Yeah.
Something to that effect. So, yeah, again, just kind of more excitement there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, we are already almost up on the half-hour time, if you can believe that. So maybe we'll wrap up with this. We'll talk a little Star Wars films here. We're going to go over a little bit on this, but I think it's important to bring the films up because we know that's where people get a lot of excitement. So Hollywood Reporter a few weeks ago was they had a long article, they bury the lead, all that good stuff, but they were kind of talking about the order of when the movies would come out. And you and I had talked a little bit about this with Lauren when we got the Lucasfilm Studios showcase, right? What makes the most sense? So the suggested, order is that they said it sounds like the Rise of Skywalker sequel, if you will, or the 15 years in the future, what do we call it? New Jedi Order.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it is already on its second round of script writing, things like that. There's already development going on, at least from a writing and getting people involved. So it seems to be further ahead. So that one seems to be the front runner to be the one that comes out next. And then there's debate about what would come next. Would it be a James Mangold? James Mangold's very busy as well to do Dawn of the Jedi. And then if it's Dave Filoni with the New Republic, well, how much needs to happen in the Mandoverse before we get to New Republic?
Okay.
So, and then of course now we get a rumor that John Boyega is going to show up, right?
Yep.
Again, not necessarily surprising. We had kind of speculated some of that too. But anything to take from that? Do you really think that the New Jedi Order is the first one that'll come out?
So you don't have it in the show notes here, but the other thing is, and this is just rumor, but again, these are from very credible rumor sources. It looks like there's going to be and trust me, we don't have time to get into this, but and there's been a lot of debate on this, but it looks like there's going to be a movie in 2025 and then a movie in 2026. Now, if they release these things within like 6 months of each other, that really scares the crap out of me, given what happened with Solo, right? And again, that's the debate that everybody's having right now. But 2025 feels like that probably is the new Jedi Order movie, given that they've, in the script, again, going back to rumors, the rumor is that Abrams had a script. You remember, he was writing it, and he was pulled off of it at the last minute there, and there was a lot of controversy about why that was. Or not Abrams, sorry, Lindelof, right? Damon Lindelof was a writer at that point. They pulled him off, and it was about 2-3 weeks afterwards. They asked him what was going on. He finally came out and said, well, it was kind of I'm going to paraphrase basically. He didn't feel like he was going to have enough time to put out, quote, a quality script, meaning they were really on a tight schedule. And so I think what they did is they probably took his version of it, and now someone else has it in their hands. It'll probably go through one more revision, and that'll probably be the end of it, because at that point they've got to start, casting, building sets, looking for locations. If they're shooting for 2025, right? There's not very much runway there. So my guess is 2025, if that holds true, would be the new Jedi Order movie. The Dave Filoni one feels like 2026 is 3 years is probably enough time to get what he needs to get done with Skeleton Crew, season 4 of Mando, the Ahsoka stuff, and maybe something else. I don't know. There's rumors now going around that there's probably another series that's coming. So that feels like it's probably the right amount of time that needs to pass. I just don't know where that story is going yet. I think Ahsoka is really going to firm up a lot of what we should expect in that movie. Should it be, and I'm not all joking aside, should it be like an Heir to the Empire kind of thing, or the Thrawn is the big bad with a big battle going on and having established the Mandalorian and the Mandos be a part of all that? It feels like that's kind of where it's all going, but we just don't have a lot of pieces there. The Dawn of the Jedi one with Mangold, that does feel like it's going to be 2027, 2028, somewhere around there. So I think it's got some time. He's still got another movie I think he's doing too before he even touches that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he does, and it's not even in production yet. So I think it doesn't even start till this year or next year.
So yeah, so you're looking like 3-4 years at least on that one. That puts us in the 2027 timeframe at that point, 26. So
yeah, I'm with you. I'm kind of worried if we start doing every year type of thing again, or even if it's just the first wave. And again, these aren't necessarily a trilogy, so
yeah, I think
saying we're doing every year doesn't matter as much. We can do multiple things at once, it seems, but man, I get a little bit nervous doing movies and the slate of what we have for Disney Plus. And so maybe it's more of an understanding of, if we put all these things in front of us, like what does that slate look like with Disney Plus, in addition to movies with the same creators behind each of them.
Yep.
So is Mandalorian still active when Filoni is doing, this movie for the New Jedi Order, or sorry, for New Republic.
Yeah.
So again, I'm almost like a 2025 and then a 2027. It would just feel more comfortable to me. Give them time to breathe. I know they want to be able to, push them out when they're ready. And if you can do it and they're ready, then please go on. Please do it. But I get nervous when I hear things like, yeah, well, it was a really aggressive timeline. I want to put up a quality script, so now it's going to go to somebody else. To me, that feels okay. Well, we're just passing the buck because we've still got a really tight window. And there's a person who has concerns about, the script, right? So,
well, I think to be fair, the context is he was saying because he had other things going on, so it wasn't a time for him personally to do it. So he felt like I can't do it the way I want to do it. So you need to find somebody else to do it.
Right, and I think there was also something about the type of show it was evolving into something different too than what he was brought on. So I mean, that happens, and I'm not wanting to get into any theory or speculation on that one, because these things happen over time. You bring a writer in, they have an idea, they write a story.
Yeah.
You see how well it fits with your directors. You bring them in, with the brass, to make sure that everyone understands and feels like, yeah, this is the movie we want to tell. Sometimes that takes 2 or 3 iterations to kind of find that right beat that you really want to drive forward. So we'll see. This one, yeah, I think this seems to be 2025. But if we're gonna do 2025, even if it's end of the year, it needs to get cranking. This needs to be moving really, really soon, because it takes what, between 6 and 9 months to film the movie, another year usually to kind of put it all together. So you're talking a year and a half. We're almost at midway through the year. So
yeah.
What are we? What else are we gonna do?
I like the idea of Boyega coming back though too. Like I saw somebody I follow.
You almost have to bring him back. You have to bring at least 1 or 2 back from the sequel trilogy, right? Because it's still, even though you're 15 years removed, it just makes sense that you still need this cohesion, that these players are all still in each other's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone like Rey and Poe and Finn, you got your big three. That one of them needs to show up just seems like a given, right?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, I know he can be he's kind of a little bit polarizing these days, or kind of left in a polarized state for the most part. But I think by and large, the people that just kind of like Star Wars and don't get brought through the mud on a lot of things really like Boyega and are looking forward to his character coming back. And it feels almost redemptive in some ways, right? Because he was, again, there's the whole, we won't get into it now, but the whole, originally he was going to be kind of front and center, have a more prominent role, and that didn't really happen. They kind of tried to make up for it by the time we got to Rise of Skywalker. But, this would be a way to kind of finally give him that I want to call it the role or the position or whatever it was that was kind of put in his ear to begin with. So, yeah, and he's a fan, right? So, I mean, can't be happier for this guy to finally see that through.
Right. And I think with Boyega, I think it's also, if you're hinting that not Boyega, if you're thinking about Finn, if Finn was being hinted at being force sensitive, you have to see where that went. You have to understand where did he join Rey with her, with the New Order, or did he do something else? Did he go a different path? And again, you have to resolve some of that stuff. You have to explore it. Maybe not resolve it, but you need to explore it though and see what happened. We've got a lot of time to fill in. It was like Force Awakens.
Yeah.
You still had to bring us up to speed about what happened with Han and Leia, right? Just to give us an idea of why there's this tension. Like, what's the deal with Ben Solo? Why doesn't he talk at the end of movies when he's dying?
No,
there's so many questions that,
all right, guys,
that you
we'll
have
see you
to fill
guys
in.
Next week.
But hey, I got it in there somehow.
You did.
But you had to catch the audience up, right? Because you left them off in a certain place and they know where they ended. And whether you want to build this as the sequel to the sequel trilogy or not, fans are going to view it that way. And so the fans are going to need to understand, well, hey, when we left off Rise of Skywalker, like Finn kind of sounded like he was this, right? And what about Xana and all those other, but it was just those stories you can't ignore them. And to do them with a comment with the player off screen doesn't always feel good when you had someone as prominent as a Finn or a Poe in the sequel trilogy. So I think it's really important for them to be brought back into the fold in some way. And Oscar Isaac, of course, is probably costs a fortune these days, but finding a way to even bring back a Poe type of character, I think is really important, because this big three really was essential to the sequel trilogy. And for a lot of people, you've said before, this is their trilogy for Star Wars. So being able to bring that back is important at some level, depending on where they want this series to go, or where they want this, I don't know, this next phase of Star Wars to go in the new Jedi Order.
I think we got about one more minute here, but I would say I wouldn't mind seeing Finn either. But it does feel, the 15 years in the future is really kind of cool. Because it gives you the opportunity to bring in not feel obliged to bring somebody in like Poe Dameron, right? Because enough time has passed that they probably had other adventures, and the three of them, the trilogy, were there, right? And at this point, it just feels like, okay, now 15 years, it's new Jedi Order. It's really focused on Rey. Finn's there because he's part of the Order. And maybe at some point they call him, right, a cameo appearance or something, but you don't necessarily feel obliged to do it, even though they were a trio and so close in the sequel trilogy. It just gives them a lot of flexibility in terms of who they need to bring in or, not be there. So, yeah, I'm really excited about, honestly, where this is going to go and to see who all is going to show up. And at some point, we're going to have to get into that and do, a whole show just dedicated on speculation and what we'd like to see on that. May have to be here very soon, by the way, too, before this thing, loses the heat on it. So,
right. But what never loses the heat, Albert? Our amazing people that join us for the live streams. So tonight, if you're listening to this, or if you're watching it after the fact, cantinacast.com/YouTube will get you everywhere you need to go. You can like and subscribe to all the videos out there. We'd love to see you join us at 9 p.m. Central. That's not changing on Sundays and Thursdays. Even with the new slated content, that's still going to be consistent. And tonight we had Jonathan Sky, Jeff, Music Train, JJ Skywalker, Lego Cat 3000, Mike, Fisto Fury, and Steph. If I missed anyone, my apologies. But thank you for coming out for the show. Thank you for helping christening a new show, I guess, with the Waystation. This is pretty exciting. And again, we only got through about half of what we had, so we will continue to explore this as
we'll try to do better next time.
Well, we're being ourselves.
Yeah.
So
hey, we said 30 minutes, but we also kind of wasted the first 5 with pleasantries. And so, whatever. I think as long as we land in that 30 to 40 minute, oh, look, it's 40. We got to go. See you later, guys. See you next week. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Let us know what you think too in the comment section, on Patreon, wherever, on social media. Let us know what you guys think. And certainly if there's things that you feel like we need to talk about, please put them in the comment section anywhere, tag us, whatever you need to do, because we're always looking for stuff to discuss. Although, there may be some weeks that it's a little bit sparse and other weeks that it might not be, but we'll definitely try to bring you as much news as we can cram into that 30 to 45 minute mark. No, sorry, 30 to 40 minute mark. How about that? Anything before we get out of here? Do you have anything lined up on your noise sound pad there?
No, I do not. Thanks to everyone who joined us in the stream.
And I have updated credits for everybody as of like 45 minutes ago. So enjoy seeing your name on here if you are a Patreon member. And we'll see you guys next week.
You're still listening? Wow. That's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.